People have told stories of the strange and supernatural for centuries. Tales of the restless dead return to haunt the living. Whispers of damned souls doing the devil's bidding on Earth. Rumors of inhuman things that still hunt the old forests, untouched by the glare of modern life. There may be more to these stories than you could ever imagine. Join us tonight as we delve into the deeper truth inside these mysteries.
Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays.
There's a weird noise there. I don't know what that was. Like a squeak?
Squeak, yeah. You haven't got a mouse running about.
No.
No, that's all right then.
Right, a little bit of housekeeping before I get into today's show. Today's show features a paranormal team called Paraseekers, which is available in the UK on Amazon Prime. I guess that's in the States as well.
Yeah, Amazon Prime could be a bit popular now, isn't it? It's getting everything on there.
Yeah, and probably other a few places you can find it, but Paraseekers. They're coming up shortly, and it was actually quite a interesting conversation.
Yeah.
It wasn't just based about the show, was it? We asked a few
bits and bobs, yeah. Not Power Rangers, Paraseekers.
Paraseekers,
that's one thing that we get on the show, don't we?
Yeah. Make a joke
Power
about
Rangers.
But, a little bit of housekeeping. Then, obviously, we hope you've had a fantastic Christmas.
Yep, happy holidays.
Yeah, you're going away shortly, so we're just trying to squeeze one in before you venture off.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get see what I can get in New York as well, because I'm off to a couple of places over there. There's a mansion over there, Jamel Mansion or something it's called, something similar to that. So hopefully I get a bit of info on that place. There's a few places that I'm popping to, so hopefully a bit of feedback from that as well. I'll bring back with me.
And remember, if you are in New York and you end up in that cheesecake shop,
yeah, remember to pick up one of the Realm of the Supernatural podcast cards.
Yeah, and anyone that does that and sends us a picture of it will get a free T-shirt.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, if you find out, yeah.
The first person.
Yeah, because I'll be visiting there every day.
But, I was just on Scared podcast the other day telling a few experiences that I'd had, so if you get a chance, check that out. I will be on Hillbilly Horror Stories shortly as well.
Jerry.
Probably before the new year, I think maybe he said that would come out. Maybe just after. Anyway, if you're fans of the show, you probably already listened to Hillbilly Horror Stories, so I'll be on there as and when.
As well. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of the show as we join the Paraseekers.
Yes. Okay, so having sat down and watched the pilot, I should say, for this episode, I really feel like, although it's similar to other ghost, shows out there, ghost hunting shows, I don't like that term, you know what I mean? Because you're not hunting ghosts, but you know what I mean. I really feel that you guys are trying to do it slightly different by letting the ghosts tell the story. But if you want to give us your, interpretation of what you believe you're trying to convey as a concept.
Okay, we'll go around. I'll start with myself. Sergio is my name. And the thing is, all these shows, they're out to prove that there's spirits. We already know that. We all have had experiences knowing that these things exist. We want to find out more what it's like on their side. What do they do for a living? What is it like Earth? Is it Earth? Is it the same plane? I want to know if there's really an afterlife and what it's like from their side, from their perspective. And that's one thing that nobody actually touches base with. I mean, we're just trying to communicate with them. I mean, they are. But we as a group, we want to know more from them. What they eat, do they go to work, if they can die again. I mean, these are all the questions that we ask, which is totally different than anybody else asks. So, I mean, how do you feel about Carl and Laura?
Yeah, I mean, well, from my perspective, it's a bit different because I'm, as you know, I'm the medium. I'm a psychic medium. So yeah, all these questions as far as jobs and why they're there and their purpose and all those other things. Yeah, those are all things that really haven't been addressed with any other psychic, paranormal show before. So what about you, Carl?
Yep.
Pretty much
Carl
sums
Jr.?
I mean, I'm interested to know also, and I think my sister just summed it all up right there.
Yeah, I know Carl is a skeptic of the group. He's the. I'd like to hear your input, Carl.
Yeah, everything that we do basically is all real as it happens. We don't stage anything. We give it to the people the way that we get it. So if there's something there, we report it, and if there's nothing there, we report that as well. So we try to debunk things. Me, as the guy that's usually like the doubting Thomas of the group, will try to debunk things if we're not sure of things, and we don't want to set the wrong tone for our viewers watching something that they know that's probably not true. So everything that we do basically is as it happens, and it's real. And it's just straight from the way that we get it.
Yeah, I think that's something, especially, we've mentioned it over previous shows as well, something that not many ghost shows bring up is the debunking part of it, is ruling it out, because one thing that really gets on my nerves is some shows that we watch, everything is a ghost or it's paranormal, everything. And one thing that I did quite enjoy in this is, they have that debunking side of it as well. We can rule that out. We can rule this out. And one thing that I liked as well is where I think it was yourself, Carl, that put the torch up to the crystal
candle holder,
and it ruled out the crucifix
on the wall,
on the wall. And it's not you don't see that in any other, especially in the UK. I don't know in the US too many of them, but I haven't seen any.
We find a lot of these shows are too easily pleased, if you like. So that's interesting that you guys, first and foremost, you're trying to debunk, and then you're looking for answers after that. It's just interesting.
Yeah, there was one incident.
You know what I say?
Yes.
Not to interrupt, but from my perspective, and I'm sure there are people that can appreciate this, but I've this is just something that's innate. I see these, see this stuff all the time. So for me, watching the little gadgets and all this stuff lighten up when I'm actually seeing spirit and I'm seeing things happen, I'm like, oh, this is really cool, because it gives, something a little more tangible that everyone, allows other people to see what I see, basically. So for me, it's kind of, it's fascinating even, doing this stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Right?
No, that's a great point.
I think
because it gives some credence to what you're saying, because you're saying you see the little boy, the little girl, whatever the spirit is that you see in the room by the object, and then he touches it and validates what you're saying. It coincides with everything that you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even the one that the little girl was under the bed. And she was rolling. I was like, she's rolling the thing, and you could see her playing with it, and then you could see the meter going up. That was cool for me.
Yes.
That was episode 4. That's going to be released later on. I mean, every place that we go, it's like we always capture entities and spirits, and a lot of other groups can't believe it. But I think what's happening is us as a group in general. These are attracted to us because Laura, Carl Jr., myself, the three of us have so many experiences. And Laura is actually the only one that actually can see these things, I think. Until recently, Carl, you Jr., you're starting to see things, and I'm starting to see things. And I think everything's attracted to us as a group. That's what's happening.
I think that's an important fact, Serge, because I think that the way that Laura describes it is really the best way. And Laura will describe it. I'll let her take over and describe it, because it's like, let's say that we're in an airplane and we're flying maybe 30,000 feet over the ocean, and it's totally pitch black. And what happens is when you see a little glimmer of light somewhere along the line, you're drawn to that light. Everybody's looking at that light. Well, Laura and our group is basically that light. So all the spirits that are up in the sky, wherever they are drawn to that because they know that she has the ability to see. They know that we as a group have the ability to see. And they're attracted to us. Do you agree with that, Laura?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how
it is. I mean, that's probably the best way to describe us as a group, as how we are and why they gravitate toward us.
Like a beacon.
Yeah. I think one good thing as well about the group as well is that there's two. I believe, is it both Carls? Are you, both cops or former cops as well? Are you? Am I right in saying that? Yeah. So I think there's something else as well comparing to other shows. Is you don't get that sense of how do I put it, down to earth people, but working class people as well. Yeah. Because you look at other shows and you see them, and when you look at some of the backgrounds as well, they're purely focused on that. You don't get that working sense from that, but you get this in this. From what I've seen from it, is you've got a group of people that, especially from, I suppose, a law enforcement side of it, is not the tendency to believe it, but you do have that more faith in what they say about it. So it's kind of from a skeptic side.
You're almost, in a way, Carl, you're almost more credible.
Yeah, it is in some sense, yeah.
But getting back to experiences, then obviously you've mentioned some there, and in the trailer for the episode, I know Serge, it mentions that you've had some experiences there. So do you want to elaborate on some of those? And because obviously you've all got a massive interest in this, and that doesn't come from nowhere. We've all share experiences, me and Aaron as well. So do you want to give us some of those experiences that really turned you onto the paranormal?
Okay, we'll do the roundabout thing. I'll start with myself. We'll go to Laura, Carl Jr., then Carl. Me, myself, it started when I was really young. And we're actually filming a movie based on my experiences and how everything linked to all our shows. But the most amazing thing that's ever happened was the day my uncle died. I think I was around 12. My sisters were like 19 and 20 each. So my aunt was hysterical. He was only early 40s when he died of a heart attack. And so my aunt came over to our house, and she was hysterical. My mother tried to comfort her, and actually she was in shock. So she stayed with us. We had a fairly big house. It was an old house, but it was big. And she slept upstairs, and my sister slept in the upstairs kitchen. And then that same night, my older sister felt something touching her arm. She said it was cold, and it felt like something was licking her arm. And when we didn't have a cat or anything or a dog at the time, and when she turned, she saw this torso. It was just the upper half. It was slightly burnt. His face was tilted to one side. His mouth was wide open. And kept saying, "Help me, help me." So she tapped my other sister. She was sleeping next to her. And when my other sister turned around and said, "What?" and she looked at it, she started screaming, and the thing went away. And that was one of the biggest experiences that Dave had, or that my whole family had. But as for myself, it was one thing after another. The day we moved into that house, the first thing I saw a shadow in the basement. It was more like a figure. And then a week later, I was in the kitchen. I heard a noise from the basement. I was about to open the basement door, and the thing flung open, and there was a large cackling, laughing sound. And I went running to my mother and hysterical. And I had no idea what that was. And from there, it took off. And then that's what I decided. I have to write the script as I remember it. And we're making it into a movie this March. But there's just so many things that happened to me since I was a kid in my family, which is pretty much unexplainable. And that's what started me was all these experiences in this house in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. And from there, it took a lot of time for me to come into realization that these things are real. And my curiosity level took off, especially when I was in my late 30s. I was involved in a major accident in which I almost died. I went over a cliff, 20-foot cliff, and my car landed upside down. And ever since then, it's been heightened. I actually hear things more. I see a lot more things, and I can't even describe the sensation I get when something's about to happen. I just know it happens. And like, for instance, this Christmas, I told my fiance, I said, "Listen, something, I don't feel right. Something's going to happen to your grandmother." And it did. Her grandmother on Christmas Eve fell in her bathtub and hurt her head and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So it's becoming more frequent with me, seeing things before they're happening, which is weird. And you guys don't even know this, Carl and Laura, but this is happening more and more to me now. I'm, 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 freaking me out. So
And that's not. Sorry, mate. That's not uncommon for people who have had like a near-death experience, if that's how you term it. To have this sort of like an extra sense of what's going on around them when it relates to accidents or premonitions. So that's not uncommon.
Yeah, it's happening more and more. That's kind of really bothering me, and I haven't even told Laura this yet. But let's go, Laura. What do you think?
Yeah,
tell us about your stuff first.
Yeah. So a lot of us get premonitions and stuff like that too. Yes, and go ahead, Laura. You go next.
Oh, you're okay. Well, my thing again. I've had many experiences. A little too much to even, I guess, to really gather up a couple situations. But I've had it. I guess since I was 4 was when I first recognized it. I always tell everyone I used to see my own angels. My said imaginary friend that I would tell my parents wasn't really imaginary. I really was talking with a little girl or a little boy or whomever it was I was playing in my closet with. One of the first, I guess, frightening experiences. I know that wasn't the question, but for me, in my perception at that time, being little, I guess I was around the age of 7 or 8. I remember saying to my mother that we had a neighbor. She was around the age of 17. Her name was Susie. And I remember seeing her. I had a vision of her that morning. I didn't understand what it was. I didn't know it was a vision. I just saw her, and I thought it was just in my mind, or I was thinking about her. I really didn't put 2 and 2 together. But I felt something very negative with it, like something was going to happen. Later on that day, I remember we were in our kitchen, and we had a knock at the door, and it was her brother knocked at the door, and he was crying, and he came in and he said that she had passed away in a car accident, I guess earlier that day or whenever that was. And then later on that night, I was in my bed, and she came to me. She was at the foot of my bed, and she was talking to me and telling me all this stuff, which scared me very much. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it was. And then, looking back now, it was funny. I just remembered this story recently. But then after that, I guess, just other things, the same thing, or even, just premonitions, and then just seeing spirit. But then I guess there was a part of me that always thought it was just in my mind, or I was crazy, or whatever that was. But I guess that's really, the first stories. And then now just doing what I do. I've been doing this now, I guess, for the past 10 years that I always joke and say I came out of the mediumship closet, and I told people about what I do. I'm like, okay, I'm not nuts. So I have so many experiences and so many stories and just things that are amazing. I had this one reading that it's a few years back that always stuck out in my mind because it was amazing even to this day. I had 2 women come in, the one woman being the mother, the other woman's the daughter. And in my office, I have, a large couch in front of me, and I sit, across from them. And I did the reading. It was going on 3 hours. This woman had a very traumatic life, and I was connecting with her father that, she really never got to say goodbye to. They just, they were estranged essentially, but more on his end. He was remarried, and the new wife was very mean to her. This woman was pretty much abused and beaten down, and she just had a really hard time with accepting that her father was being apologetic. He gave her all validations. Things that there's no way that I would have known. I get, just pinpoint tiny little things, not generalized. Oh, it's someone's birthday. I tell you, in your room, the window's to the right, this is over here in the drawer on the left with the green button in the back of the, I give you exact little details, which I was doing for her, but she still was having a hard time with him coming through and apologizing for everything that he had done for her. So again, long story short, it was 3 hours, fast forward later, and I was, she was at the edge of the couch. Her daughter was holding, and I was telling her, he's really here, he's really with us, and he really wants this message and bring it across that he's sorry. And she's like, I just can't accept it. No. And she was sobbing, and the daughter was hugging her. Next thing you know, the daughter's phone was probably about, maybe like 3 feet or 2.5 feet away from her on the couch all by itself. Out of nowhere, the phone Siri spoke, and it went off by itself, and it goes, it's all true. out of nowhere. The woman immediately looked up, her eyes all full of water, welled up, and she looked at me. My mouth was on the floor. I'm like, in shock. The daughter, we all stared at the phone at the same time. She went over, she picked up the phone, and you could see on the screen, it says, "It's all true." And I said to her, I go, "You can't get any better of validation than that. That's your dad, and he wants to say that he's sorry." That woman stopped crying immediately. She looked at me, she said, "Thank you." And that was it. So that was the one story that, with doing the readings, that I remember that it was something more tangible that I was even like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's happening.
That was, that was like.
Make that up. That's amazing.
Did we lose Lee? I think I heard a click.
Yeah, no, we're still here.
Okay.
What about yourself, then, Carl? What about yourself? Have you...
Carl Jr.?
Hello, yeah, we're still here. Sorry, cut off a little bit there, but we're still here. I was just saying, what about yourself, Carl?
Okay. I think it probably all started when I was younger. I don't remember exactly how old I was. Obviously, I was only probably 3. I was swimming in a pool, and let's call it how it is. I drowned for a few minutes, and ever since then, I got to see a bright white light. The normal thing that people usually talk about. I don't want to talk about it right now because I might start crying. So I'll just go over and then just tell you about some of my other experiences later on in life. I used to have, when I would go to bed at night and when I was starting to fully relax, I would actually hear voices and stuff. People would talk about things that happened in the past, and I was able to validate them by looking up, I heard a lot of baseball. I basically had a baseball announcer. Yeah. Telling me things, and it didn't make any sense because I'm laying in my bed. I'm not a baseball player. Other than that, I would see things out of the side of my eyes, like the corner of my eye, and then as soon as I go to look at it, it's not there. What other things?
Is there anything that's ever happened to you that's especially, whilst being an officer as well, that you've not been able to explain without judgment or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, there's... What's that?
Basement in a jail.
Oh, yeah. I've had lots of things. I worked in a jail for a year and a half. There would always be things moving around, doors opening up. People can't explain it. I've even tried talking to somebody, and apparently they weren't there. Yeah. So it was definitely a ghost, obviously. I've also had people, unfortunately, kill themselves, but I can never say that they actually died because I'm not an ME. And you could actually still see them every once in a while pass by. When I was out on patrol, we kept getting calls to go to one of the mansions that's in town. It's a historic site, and when we got there, we could actually see somebody moving around. So we made entry, and we later couldn't find anybody. So the one guy was like, "I'm not writing this report," and I was like, "I'll write the report. I don't care. What are they going to tell me that I didn't see what I saw?" Fireplace would go on in the place, and nobody would be there. You have to hand light it. It's not a gas fireplace. And then there's just been, numerous other things that I've seen. So.
What about yourself as well, Carl Jr.?
That was Carl Jr.
Oh, sorry, Carl. There's too many Carls, isn't there?
There's too many of us Carls. You just told me Jr.
Well, as I said earlier, I'm like the doubting Thomas, and although I've had many experiences in the past previously, I would always chalk it up to, maybe, even though I don't believe in coincidence, I would always chalk it up to, maybe it's some type of intuition, because I think we all possess some type of intuition. Yeah. But most of my things, for me, came through validations with my daughter, because me being a police officer and her doing what she does, many times she would see something on TV while I'm watching TV before she would go out, and it would be some type of a case that's relative to the news. It's newsworthy, where there was a crime committed, somebody was murdered, and she would say, "Oh, they're going to find her. She's over near the water. She's got her hair is all wet. She's laying on her side. She's missing an earring. I could see her teeth are busted. I could see that she's got a black eye. I could see she's beat up." And she would say all these different things. And in the police business, when we report things, we don't always give all of the information. There's always things that we hold back. So the things that we hold back, no one can know except for the police and the coroner, and obviously the person that did it, the perpetrator.
Yeah.
So, and she would tell me things, and I would always write them down, because that's just the way that I am. That's the way that I operate, because I have to see something with my own eyes and my own ears to believe it to be true. Not that I wouldn't believe my children, because I believe my children, but and I would write it down, and I would wait until after the case was over and it was adjudicated and so on and so forth. And I would find out the missing facts that Laura had told me that weren't released at the time that the news media reported it. And I would always say to myself, wow, that's awful strange that she was able to do that. So this happened on many different occasions, and the odds of that happening are really astronomical.
1 billion to 1.
They got to be trillions to one, if even that.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, and I've had experiences myself as an officer on calls. And like I said before, I chalked it up to maybe a sixth sense. And it could be, but I just know that obviously this runs in our family, but I'm always the person that wants to try to dispel anything, because I want to keep it all real.
Yeah.
So if there's things that we're doing on our show that maybe could be debunked, I want to be the person that debunks them. And yet I want to be the person that can equally validate them as well, and bear to the veracity of what it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's definitely healthy to have a bit of skepticism in there. Because again, we've been on investigations ourselves where we've been with different crews, and everything's a ghost, isn't it?
Yeah.
It gets totally out of hand. But yeah, so I think that's healthy. Okay, so then ghosts. Okay, it doesn't matter you could have 10 different people in a room that have all seen a ghost, and they'll all have 10 different opinions of what a ghost is. Unless it's like a family member, like a crisis apparition, that kind of thing. But in general, they'll get a different opinion based on their upbringing and, maybe religious beliefs, etc. But so I know this is like an open-ended question, but where do you see ghosts? What do you think they are? And given that they are here, as you've already alluded to, we know they are. Why do you think they're here?
I think that's a good question, probably for Laura.
Probably Laura would be the best one to answer that.
Because Laura is the one that can see and hear. She has all her abilities, and you'd be the best to describe that, babe.
Yeah, ghosts. I mean, they're from my perspective, they're here for all different reasons. So some of them are here just because they want to be here. They want to be around. Maybe they like the property. Maybe they like the people. Maybe there's an attachment. Sometimes they're here because they're unsettled and they choose not to go through their life review. Everyone goes through a life review. When you die, when you pass, you have to sort of face, everything that you went through in your life, whether it was good or bad. And sometimes these souls don't want to face that, or they don't want to, maybe face whatever the things were that they had done bad, and they choose not to go through their life review, and then they end up staying here. So again, I guess it's all different reasons on why, there are ghosts. Sometimes it's residual energy. So it's not really so much that there's an actual ghost. Maybe it's just an imprint. Maybe it's just the energy that's left behind. I was trying to explain this the other day to someone, and I was telling them that, I was doing a group reading, and there was about 25 people there. And I told them, I said, I was trying to, differentiate between a ghost and residual energy. And I said, it's the same way, everyone's gathered in this room right now. And if you guys were to leave, because I'm so empathic, if I were to come here later on and I didn't know you had a large get together or a gathering, I would say, I'm picking up on a lot of people in this room, and there's, and there's this person and there's that person. So it's not that there's an active soul there. It's just more the residual. So sometimes, you might have a little bit of residual, and then sometimes you might actually have the actual spirit itself.
Yeah, I agree with you on Laura on that. But if on episode 1, I gave my theory, and when you hear a lot of these EVPs, you hear mostly whispering, right? They're always some sort of a whisper or a growl.
Yeah.
And my theory, what I really believe happens, is that when somebody dies, they have a window of opportunity to cross over into the light.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's say they don't cross over to the light for whatever reason it is. Like Laura says, maybe they're afraid, maybe they want to, whatever the reason is, then they're trapped on this plane. And on this plane, wherever they are, the spirits are, it's like a realm between heaven and earth. And there's also demons. And that's why they always whisper, because if the demons hear them, they take them wherever they go. Maybe they take them to hell or whatever it is. And on the EVPs, it's either a whisper or a growl or an angry voice. So my theory is that they're on this plane, and now they're trapped. They don't know what to do without help from a medium to cross over. So, but they have to remain quiet, or else these demon entities will hear them and take them to wherever they go, and they're done. That's what I believe, and it's in line with what Laura said. But I think mine's a little different into the fact that the demons and the trapped spirits are here on this plane, and
well, that's
what I really believe.
Yeah, that's an interesting
for me.
opinion for sure.
Can I just kind of go can I just respond to that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The one thing with me, I can see where you're going with that, and I appreciate that. For me, I feel as though you can compare, and do I believe in demons? Yes, because I've seen them. So I know, for me, I know them to be there.
Yeah.
I like I said, I've seen them and I've experienced them. But what I see them more as it's sort of like they're bullies, and the person that hasn't crossed yet for whatever reason, maybe it's fear, maybe whatever, and you have to remember that they have loved ones and they have their guides that are sort of guiding them and telling them it's okay, you have to cross, and whatever it is, but it's all a matter of free will. So they're not going because of free will. But then you have, I don't want to take up a lot of time with my response. It's like really lengthy, but after you're done with your life review, you go through the white light, which kind of cleanses all of that emotion from you. So whether it's pain, fear, anxiety, whatever it is, it kind of washes all that off of you. So these souls haven't cleansed that off of them as of yet. So now you have this bully, they have this fear with, facing their life review, and then you have this demonic spirit, which is essentially, like I said, a bully, and kind of perpetuating that fear and telling them you can't do it, and you're this and you're that, and whatever it is, they feed off of that. So it's not so much that they're stuck here; they can leave anytime that they want, but it's sort of like a cycle that they get stuck in, and
they don't know.
They don't know it, but it's. But there's always I don't believe in a window of opportunity. That's from my own experiences, from what I've seen, and I'm not saying that that's wrong, but from my experiences, from everything that I've done up to this point, I believe that you're able to cross. You're welcome in heaven anytime. It's just a matter of free will and a matter of if you want to face your life review. And I don't believe in hell per se. There's not really a hell. Your hell is your own hell, and that's through your life review.
So the common denominator that you and I have is that they're both stuck here for whatever reason, either their own choice, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is because they missed a window of opportunity. So it's somewhere in there.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a great question to ask on the next investigation.
Yes. Yep. Yes.
Yeah, and they do give you those answers. I mean, they do say, I even ask them, I'm like, why are you here? What is it? And they often do tell me, I'm afraid, or, I know we're addressing the first episode right now, but even in other episodes, those questions have been answered. Why are you here? And then even the one, I don't know if you want me to elaborate on other ones, and I'm just briefly, just for conversation's sake, the one woman that was stuck there, she, there was, because it was a demonic presence that was holding her there. And she's like, I'm afraid, and it kind of feeds off the fact that she lost her child. And then it's like, oh, you're a bad mother. You're this, you're that. And so she's like, well, I'm never going to see my child again. What's the point? Why am I going to do this? And it's sort of feeding into that depression. And then it makes her not want to leave. It makes her just kind of, it's almost like, what's a good word for that? Like she wants to beat up on herself, or she wants to.
It's almost like a self-deprecation.
Like a self-deprecation. Yeah, so, exactly.
You're feeling at your lowest point. And, you feel worthless and whatever. You just want to beat yourself up.
Now, something that you guys, probably all of you are quite known to, is the equipment whilst you're ghost hunting. Is the different types of equipment that you have is quite varied. And one thing that we like, we've got our own equipment. We've got a few things that we do when we're on investigations. And more of Lee will like one piece of equipment more than another, and I like the SLS cameras and things like that. So one thing that I wanted to ask to each of you as well is, what's your favourite piece of equipment, and what's the best how do I put it? Best
evidence gathered,
evidence gathered from
if
that.
you had to take one piece of equipment essentially with you, what would it be?
Sure.
I kind of agree with that. The SLS camera. I mean, we've done quite well with that, and that actually is able to verify what Laura says. And because when Laura's saying, I could see that there's a little child over there, there's a bigger figure over there, and what the SLS camera would indicate exactly what it is and where it is that Laura says. So it proves that. And we've also used, in conjunction with the one SLS, we have 3 of them, by the way. we would also put another SLS from another angle on that, and then put the other and then put a regular camera on both SLSs to show that they're showing the same type images at the same time. Yeah. Whereas I don't know that anyone else has ever done that yet or not.
I don't know about 3. I've never heard of 3 together. No. I've never heard of that one, have I?
Yeah. We did that in episode 2, right, Carl? And we said we're going to do this to prove to the skeptics. Okay, maybe it's okay. One SLS camera will show something. Okay, how about 2 or 3 of them at the same time? Okay, correct. Now what? Okay, now what, skeptic? What are you going to say about that? Yeah, and we actually captured it. In episode 2, you'll see 2 SLS cameras on one figure and on one entity, and it pops up on both cameras.
Yeah, no one's done that yet, to my knowledge. Have they, Serge?
No, I haven't seen it.
I haven't heard of it either. I haven't heard of 3.
In there real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I like the SLS cameras. I mean, they do have weak points. Weak points being, if you're pointing towards a fan, anything with like the shape of a human, it's going to pick that up and try to guess that it's maybe a human.
Yeah.
If you're shooting into total darkness and you're shooting into nothing's there, nothing represents a human, you're picking up some, then yeah, great, you have something. I do like the SLS, but what I like more than that is the good old-fashioned tape recorder and a security IR camera.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, it's real hard to trick them. If they see something, they're going to show it.
Mm-hmm. Carl,
it's hard to manipulate.
And we have that in some of the episodes that we did. Yes, episodes. Correct.
Yeah. For me, I like the SLS. I didn't know the proper terminology for it. The SLS camera. I remember when we were when we were in the basement and we were playing with them, and I said there was a spirit down here, and I said, oh, he ran in the other room, and then they caught it on there. I said, oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah.
We went in the back room. We went, remember that?
Our basement.
In our basement. And I remember we went in the back room, and my father's like, where's the guy now? I said, he's gone. And the SLS camera showed nothing. And then I went around and I said, oh, he's crouched down in the corner over there. They took the camera. They took the SLS. They brought it around, and you could see it crouching. I was like, this is so cool. This is the coolest contraption in the world. I'm like, it's putting it into... putting it in view of like what I'm seeing.
It was validating everything that you said.
That's always like the main thing that I tell people. I'm like, I wish I had a projector. My eyes were a projector, and you could see what I say. And that camera allows you to see exactly what I say. I think it's so cool. Yeah.
I I really like the SLS, but the REM pods is not too far behind.
Yeah.
Like for instance, in that basement,
What's
in
that?
the
What's
that was
that?
the one
round circle with the
antenna with
antenna.
all the
yeah,
Oh, you know what I like? What's that? The Ovulus? Is that the one that talks?
yeah.
yeah.
The one that says the words?
Yeah.
I like that one too.
Yeah. That's
Let me go back to the REM pod though. In the pilot episode, that thing had brand new batteries, and it was silent all night until we went to the basement late that evening, about 3:00 in the morning. And then when I heard it, I heard that hissing, snarling, telling me to get out. And that thing went off, and it just lit up and just died.
Yeah.
I mean, that was amazing. I mean, how can you explain something like that? The thing, everything lit up, and it just drained the battery, and the whole thing died.
But
It was right after.
The battery draining thing is, it happens so regular that it, you can have a tape recorder in your house all day, for a week, and the batteries will be fine.
Yeah.
You take it out on an investigation, within 10 minutes, the batteries are gone. And you can't explain, you can't,
the energy from the batteries, exactly.
Yeah, it's difficult to explain, but sure.
Yeah, but that happened like right after I went running away, like a little girl. I went running away after the thing startled me. The thing lit up like crazy, and it died. It was like boom right after that.
Yeah.
So how can you explain something like that? We tried to debunk it afterwards. We put a brand new battery and nothing. It was all night. It lit up only then.
I had an experience with an iPhone. We went to a graveyard, as you do, and I had a full battery, 100%, and it says that on there, 100%. Yeah. And we was going around the graveyard. We was filming bits and bobs as as the investigation progressed, and then all of a sudden, my phone just went off. And then it came up, where it flashes up, those who've got iPhones on there, it goes like a little battery with like a little red bit saying it's dead.
Yeah.
Right. And anyway, I left it a few minutes, put it back in my pocket, thought, well, that's useless now. Anyway, I just tried it about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour after. I tried it and come back on 88% battery. I thought, well, that's strange. So we're filming again, and just as we heard some noises, which we actually caught. We put it up as an EVP on the Facebook group for people to listen to. But just after that was captured, my phone went off again, and it wouldn't turn back on until we was halfway home driving back. It came on with 76% battery. So, I mean, that's a phone, not a camera or anything. But I don't know why it would do that.
A lot of people, I mean, one factor of it, people would say, is the temperature, because whenever people are doing
but I take my phone out all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't turn off.
We even tried it. We tried it with hand warmers and everything like that to try and counter the temperature. So we brought the temperature up, and even so, the energy that was drained from the battery. I mean, some of them we've had where it's drained it straight away, and you turn it back on, and it's down to say 5% or so. But later on during the night, it's gone back up again. And it's like it's been recharged again. It's got its original energy back. Yeah. So it's like it's been released back into the actual device itself.
That is strange.
And that's on different batteries. It's it's not specific to phone batteries, lithium batteries, any of the batteries. It's across the board, any energy whatsoever.
I mean, they're just things that you can't explain. They don't make sense. No. I mean, how
you try to debunk it. You try all different methods, and bottom line, sometimes you can't. You just can't debunk it.
There's also another.
Carl.
What's that? No, go ahead, Serge.
Okay, Carl Jr. I think this is the first time it's ever been captured with an SLS camera. Episode 4. We went to the Sam Miller mansion, and I said, "Carl, look, they're dancing." But Laura, earlier during the investigation, during her walkthrough, she said that room that where we actually caught spirits, that were 2 of them. I thought they were dancing. She said that it used to be for like a prostitution. The guys used to go up there and they used to have sex. Correct. And then Carl brought up Carl Jr. You tell me what you brought up, what you think it is.
Well, actually, I don't know what the rating is on the show. I don't know how graphic I could be. But,
yeah, you'd be as graphic as you like. There was horizontal dancing.
Well, there was a body laying flat, and then there was another one riding on top of it. So
they were doing the same movements. So I think we have the first paranormal orgy or sex thing going on. Wait till you see this thing. Episode 4, the SLS camera captured. I've never seen something like this. They were doing the same movements.
So I'm guessing that somewhere after death, there's still some type of life.
Well, I hope so.
That's the residual.
They're trying to have a ghost baby.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I really thought they were dancing because they're doing the same body movements. And then Carl said, Laura pointed out there was a. Holy moly!
Well,
the stuff that we've captured.
Strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, that obviously that's strange to pick up
That's
on
weird.
that camera. That I could understand it picking up a figure because that's what it's trained to do. But to see, to get two doing something like that is highly unusual. I would say. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Have you?
Not on one of them. No.
So
Wait till you see it. It's episode 4.
I look
It's
forward
called the
to
Sam
that.
Miller Mansion. Yeah, that was the most bizarre thing I think that I've witnessed. Not the scariest, but the most bizarre, and probably the first time ever captured.
We were trying to get involved. I know.
What about because you mentioned before, and obviously this crops up time and time again, this demonic energy, etc. So, and you mentioned that you've encountered this. I mean, what makes it? Because I'm not a massive believer in demonic energy. I'm skeptical enough where I believe in ghosts, because a lot of people have seen it, but to give that energy a negative connotation, that's where I sort of draw the line, because I'm not sure, I'm not convinced enough to see. I've seen that, if you know what I mean. I've seen things, but what makes you so convinced that this is a demonic energy kind of thing?
I think Laura?
I kind of agree with you, Lee. I mean, I don't really believe in the demonic energy myself, but I do know that, like up at the farm, certain places where we were, when I would be with Laura, and she would say, I see like a demon over here. I see them doing this. They're telling me that they're going to push me out into traffic, and I would stand on the outside of her, and I would like challenge them and say, "Oh, there's nothing that they can do. They can't hurt you. They can't do anything."
Yeah.
And she would say, "Well, they keep threatening me that they're going to do stuff." And I said, "You know what? If there is an entity that's evil or demonic, there's nothing that they can do to you physically to hurt you."
Let me tell you. Wait, can I just interject for a second? Okay, so you're dealing I'm a big security cat, and like I said, I've had this gift my entire life. I've seen everything you could possibly see as far as spirit goes. I never wanted to acknowledge dark spirits, and let me tell you that, and I know it's, again, it's just on the surface, like that they exist, but I remember the first episode with the farm. I remember the first time I ran out of there. I was wearing heels. I face planted. I ran so fast out of that place. I was like, get me out of here. I had one of the demonic spirits. I had it actually pick up I had a crucifix on my neck, and it picked up my crucifix and it shook it on my neck, and it said, "This thing is going to protect you." And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, get me out of here. But fast forwarding a little bit, just quickly, my children are also gifted, and I have a 6-year-old son. I guess it was about 2 years ago. It was right after when did we do that filming? That wasn't long after, but I was just having a lot of experiences after that, because I don't think I was protecting myself enough after encountering these demonic presences. Well, my son had come into my room one night. It was like 4:00 in the morning, and he was crying and he was visibly shaken up. And I said, "Mateo," I said, "what's the matter?" So I was half asleep, obviously, myself. And he's like, "The man's in my room. The man's in my room." And I said, "What man, buddy?" I'm thinking he had a bad dream or whatever. So I kind of, I comforted him. He was laying with me, at that point I was still in my bed. I look into my hallway and I could see, a figure for demonic presences. For me, they show, they look almost like a black mass. It looks almost like they have a black cloak kind of thing. That's how they come. That's how I see them. Everyone's different. So anyway, that was in the hallway, and I started praying at that point, and then I started telling it has to leave. So I then look again, and then he was gone. And then I said to my son, I said, "Is it gone? Did it go away?" And he said, "Yes, I don't see it anymore." So I know we were on the same page. So long story short, my son then looked over, and to my left, you could see my bathroom, and I have a huge jacuzzi tub. And he goes, "Mommy, no, he's back, he's back." And then I look, and I see this thing over the jacuzzi tub. And I said, "Oh, and I started praying again, and I started asking my son other questions. Long story short, that was it. The next night, we were in the house, whatever, and I gave my son a bath, and he had a necklace on, a crucifix as well. And, I was on the phone with one of my girlfriends, and he was in the tub playing with his toys and doing his thing. And I mean, I don't put that much water in the tub, but he's a swimmer. He could swim and he's fine. So I had said, "All right, come on, buddy, we're going to get you out." So I had to walk out, and I went to the hall to get a towel for him. I was literally gone, if I had to say, 15 seconds, not even. So he was sitting up when I had left, and I put the drain down, and the water started emptying. And I walked away, and as soon as I got my hand on the handle for the pantry door to open to get the towel, I heard him screaming, "Mommy, Mommy." I ran back around. I came back in, and I saw him flat down with his neck against the drain with his necklace caught. So I jumped in the tub and I pulled him out, and then the necklace ended up breaking off, and then it went down the drain. I forgot to mention that I left this part out, which was, I guess, an important piece of information, that after that, the night before, I made sure that I put his crucifix back on him, because I felt like this negative entity was bothering him. And I said, "You know what, let me put this necklace back on you." So with that gesture after that, and my dad always says that they can't do anything. I disagree.
I disagree also.
Well, I am the discerning skeptic. If you look up skeptic and doubting Thomas in a dictionary, you'll see my picture.
That thing did not want that necklace on him.
Wow. Now, let's go back to Lee's question now. We actually, in episode 1, we have that spirit in the closet that was pointing. I asked him specifically, "Are you afraid of the demon in the basement? If you are, point down." And then a few seconds later, it started pointing down. And his arm was straight all the time until I asked that question. And then it started pointing down like crazy. He kept pointing down. And that was Laura said that there was something demonic in the basement. And even during the whole episode, I joked with Carl, "I'm not going to be in the basement. I'm going to be upstairs in the second floor with the lady." Remember? But there was definitely, I really believe that there's something demonic in that basement, because, but that validation was the voice snarling, telling me to get out.
Yeah.
Or the REM pod draining immediately after that, and then the spirit up in that second floor, pointing down from the SLS camera, pointing down. When I said, "Are you afraid of the demon?" Pointing down. So, Laura, you're spot on there. I believe that there are.
Well, yeah, and it's strange with the hangman's noose and everything else. When we put Randy in a closet up there, and
I mean that was amazing. That was amazing. The thing actually grabbed the noose. When we said, remember the murder, the suicide in that house, the guy hung himself, and people, I can't believe people aren't saying more about that. I mean, the SLS camera picked up the entity, grabbing the trigger object, which was the rope, and bringing it towards his neck. I mean, how much validation do you want?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Yes.
And from the skeptic Carl, when you saw that, I mean, and then the thing pointing upwards, and we was looking for help, and there was an angel hanging on the cord. What was that, Carl? On the end of the pull chain. It was on the pull chain of the light and the fan, and the illumination looked like a shadow of an angel up on a wall, and it was like reaching towards the shadow of the angel on the wall. Yeah. And he kept pointing at it. Yeah, the SLS had him pointing at it. He wouldn't put his finger down until I asked the question, "Are you afraid of the demons in the attic?" Then he put his hand down, and kept pointing. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I think that's amazing evidence with the SLS camera.
So
there's a lot of things that I think are unexplainable. I mean, even to this date for me. But like I said, everything that we do is real. We don't make anything up. We don't do anything that's not there. We don't want to try to fool anybody.
Well, obviously I've listened to your answers there, and I take it all on board, because you're out there doing it. So for me, it's just a case of I have to wait till I see it to believe it, kind of thing. But obviously, I hear Carl Jr. say that he also agrees that these demonic presences do exist. So what I want to ask you then, Carl Jr., is, do you believe that what we're talking about when we talk about these demonic energies or spirits, do you believe these are souls of people, or do you think this is something else?
Well, I don't know exactly where they come from and stuff like that, personally, but for me, it's just negative, evil.
Yeah.
Usually, if I see them, usually whenever I see things in my mind. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. I don't see things with my actual human eye. Sometimes I see things in my mind. And like whenever I see things in my mind, it's not really something I could just say, oh, he's tall, he's this, he's that. He doesn't look like a human being. It's not like the same structure as a human being that I see. I mean, maybe everybody sees it in a different manner, but I know it's negative because I feel it's negative. And then I start getting scared. I get like sweaty hands, sweaty palms, and I just want to run. But me personally, I'd rather just face my fears and stuff like that. But also, I mean,
Yeah, that's mine.
I'm gonna push things over to my sister also because she has a little bit more insight because she could actually physically see them with her eyes.
I was gonna say demons were never human.
Okay.
So there's evil people. So there's spirit that, spirits, just energies of people that were here, that, can just be evil and not good. But then a demon is something totally different. It's like angels too.
That's when I see it. That it's almost not like human.
Yeah, it's not human. No, okay. It's a mass. It's not. It doesn't have human. It doesn't have
no fingers, no form.
No, it's just like it's a blob. It's a blob. It's like an energy. It's a negative
entity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have to also look at it like this too. Everything in life is balanced. So it's like yin and yang. Yeah. Like there's good and evil. We have to have balance.
Evil,
yeah.
Otherwise, what's the meaning of good if there's no evil?
What balances out the universe?
Yeah. And so if there's a heaven, there's a hell. It's all about whatever you believe in. But there's going to be that yin and yang, like she's saying. But me personally, I don't see demons like human-like. They're just blobs, but you can know that they are evil. And can they hurt you? I believe yes, they can.
It's weird. For me, they are blobs, but like even in episode 1, when I was seeing them, the one I drew it. Sergio, do you still have the drawing?
Yeah.
It looks almost like, and it had sharp teeth and it had red beady eyes. And I know that sounds so theatrical and you know what I mean? That sounds like, wow, of course it has red beady eyes. That's perfect. But that's really the way I saw it. That's how it presented itself.
Yeah, I remember you saying
I've seen them in all different ways. And I think even in the barn, didn't I describe the other one? It looked almost like the Venom, like the black Spider-Man, right?
Black Spider-Man type.
Yeah, where they had the fire. It went up the wall. Yeah. And that was creepy for me. I'm like, geez, like it was all different. Yeah. But it was never a human.
I think that it goes off your fear.
Yes.
Whatever
that makes
fear
sense.
that you have is the fear.
That's how it presents.
I can see that, yeah. Well, that's what they do even with spirits that haven't crossed. They perpetuate, they kind of feed into their fears. Of. Yeah, that that makes sense. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just following off that point there then is obviously you've all had your own experiences and that, and you just mentioned there that do you believe that some of them can hurt you? Have any of you ever had the physical, not so much a physical interaction of being pushed or out like that, but anything that's really hurt yourself? Any experiences like that?
Not hurt, but episode 4, Laura, when she pointed me out that there was something negative at the Sam Miller mansion, so I went to that spot and I put my arm out, and all of a sudden I felt electricity on my whole arm. It wasn't hurting, but it was like a when you touch when you get shocked.
Yeah.
Like a light shock. That's what it was, and I had to pull my arm away.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was episode 4. So yeah, I believe that they can hurt you.
I believe it. Yeah, nobody's hurt. Nothing's hurt me per se either, like Sergio. But I've had situations where I've been kicked. I've had my hair pulled. I don't know. It's pretty much the extent of it.
Me personally, I've had an experience. I really don't like talking about it. I'm actually kind of hesitant about talking about it, but I've I've had a dream that was ongoing for like a complete month. Every day it would go a little bit further. Finally, it got to the point where I feel like I have met the devil. I started enchanting crap in my sleep, and I did a levitation. And when I woke up, I had the light marks on my body from it. Do I believe in that? Yes. It happened to me? Yes. If somebody wants to call BS on it, hey, listen, by all means, go for it. But I can only tell you from what I experienced.
Was that
do I ever experience that ever again? Hell no. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Is that something that's built up over the past, like, so many weeks, months, years, or is it just a one-night thing, was that?
No, it was over. It was every day would be different. Like, it first started out, I arrived at this house.
Yeah.
I ever see this house in real life, I'm going to burn it to the ground. But personally, the first day I saw the house.
I know.
Then the next day, this is, literally in real lifetime over a course of a month. Every day it would go a little further. I would open up the door, then I would do this, then I would do that. The last day, I was creeping up the stairs, and the chanting was getting worse. And then heat started coming on. Then I could see fire. Then I saw this thing standing in the fire. I'd rather not explain exactly what it was that I saw because it's horrific. I still have to get the flashes in my mind of it.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that is just as you brought that up, and we're planning on this on a future show, is Ava's a similar sort of experience to yourself, and it's I know the setting of the actual place from where I know it. It was my grandmother's house, and every day was. It was building. I got further into the next room, or I went upstairs onto the landing. I got into the attic, but I always ended up, where you just mentioned the fire. Mine ended up in a fireplace, an old log fireplace.
Okay.
And from what I see out of that, which I won't share on here, I'll be quite happy to share with you elsewhere, is a figure in the actual fire itself, but was. I can't. It's hard to explain without drawing it, really. But it was half human and half shadow man, should I sort of say, apparition. But that was my. It was just I just as you was explaining that to me. That's that's put airs on end here for you saying that, because that's quite similar into what I've had personally as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. This thing almost looked like a centaur. For me, it was like half animal, I guess you can say, and half wannabe human. I mean, just absolutely horrific. And then the cantations or whatever it started making me say, it made me feel like opposed the one that I think is my savior. He is the savior. It was horrific. It was just what got me out of it was me actually saying actual prayers. That's actually what brought me back. But before I was fully back, I was in a paralyzed state.
Right.
Basically, while I was levitating off the bed, I was paralyzed. My brain was still awake, but the rest of my body was not. I couldn't move. I couldn't call out. I couldn't do anything. But I do remember opening up my eyes, and I was still. Not controlling my own vocals, I guess you can say. I was still chanting what he had me chant, or the hell that thing is, had me chant.
Yeah, that's
It wasn't English. It wasn't any language I've ever heard of. It was probably ancient Latin or whatever, angelic speaking or whatever.
Now, there could be
I have no idea.
Yeah, skeptics can say that's sleep paralysis, but you actually had your eyes open and you didn't close them.
Yeah.
Many people have experienced that.
I had them open. I just was speaking another language that I had no idea what the hell it meant, but I could feel what it meant. It meant that I was basically I was taking an oath to him and not to my actual God.
Yeah.
I was whatever, but. I mean, I don't like talking about that experience. That was horrific, like I said, and rather.
You mentioned that the language could have been Latin. I think. Is there a possibility it could have been Arabic?
It didn't sound like Arabic.
No.
Unless you're talking about what the angels spoke. I forget what that language was called.
Aramaic. Yeah, it's interesting that you're asking that, Lee. Is that because your experience had something of that nature with what you did?
Well, I've shared this on the show before. I had a friend that was serving in Afghanistan, and they stopped. Long story short, they basically stopped. There was in a convoy, and they had to stop overnight in basically the desert, and they were sleeping in the trucks. And this is in a potential minefield, IEDs and all the rest of it. So they basically just made camp and stayed on the road. During the night, he heard some movement, and obviously he was quite alarmed because of the situation. Jumped out the truck with his rifle to go investigate, and his friend who was co-pilot in the truck with him was actually sat out in this desert, cross-legged, sat on the floor, just chanting over and over this, what he presumed was Arabic, and stacking rocks with his eyes closed. So he was almost asleep, but he was stacking rocks in a pyramid shape, and then he'd knock them down and start again. But the whole time he was doing it, he had his eyes closed. And remember, this is a minefield, Wow. So he's actually had to venture out to him, risking his life to get to him. And then when he's tried to wake him up, like they say, don't wake people up that are asleep, sleepwalking. But he had to because of the situation. But they got him back in. But it was some other strange things happened that night as well. But he thinks it was some sort of it was a language he didn't know, but he presumed it may be like you say, ancient America or Arabic or something. That was all.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because my son is actually a bomb tech. Yeah. Which is funny that you're mentioning that because he knows all about IEDs and so on and so forth, and he could relate to that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's definitely somewhere that you want to wake a friend up.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, there's more to that than sleep paralysis. What you're saying. This narrative that your mind's playing out. It's a bit more than just a dream, isn't it? If you had dreams of that nature every so often, then all right, maybe, but you don't, do you?
See, mine went on for 2 years. I don't know about yourself, but mine went on for 2 years.
A month, you said,
yeah.
Yeah. I was going to start really quick. I wanted to just say that everyone's saying sleep paralysis, but my belief from what I do, I believe it's actually astral projection. I believe that your soul leaves your body and you go into another dimension or you go somewhere else. And that's where you may encounter.
Well, it did astral projection.
That's what it is. It's not.
I just associate
it's an
that
astral
to a
projection.
dream. I've done
no,
it
it's
myself.
not a dream. No, your soul leaves your body.
So why would I want to go visit the demon though?
For whatever reason, maybe it attached itself.
There has to be a reason.
That's what happened. Who knows?
So, Carl, I got a question for Carl, the skeptic. During all our investigations for season 1, what is the one thing that you cannot debunk stands out most in your mind?
Well, one of the things that I can't is the dual SLS cameras capturing the same entities that Laura had described that were there. That's pretty much the most thing that I can.
How about this one? When you came back in from getting
you're right. It said he's back.
And it said he's back. Clear as bell.
That was creepy.
You want to explain that one there?
I can't explain. I definitely can't explain that.
Now, Lee, there's a lot of skeptics that says, how could they possibly have captured everything on that episode? That's only a portion of everything that we got, because else it would be a 4 hour long episode. There were so many things that happened to us at that Corrado's farm. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was the most place that we were ever at, I believe, to date.
Yeah, but the things that we featured in episode 1 was the most prominent that we think needs to be shown.
Yeah.
And again, all the investigations, there's no music background, there's no creepy sound, there's nothing. It's all raw footage. So everything that we saw is what you guys are seeing, the audience is seeing. And we had one guy say, "Oh yeah, no special effects." Whenever they say no special effects, that means that it's special effects. And he said, because of the opening, we had special effects. But I told him, listen, we need a catchy intro with effects to make it interesting. But when we do the investigation, there's no special effects. I mean,
No.
the mentality of some of these people are kind of out there. Granted, the special effects in the intro, of course.
Yeah.
But not in investigation. There's nothing.
No, that's what makes us unique and stand out from everybody else, because we don't use any special effects.
Yeah, one of the
Nothing.
one of the bits that stood out for me in the episode that I watched was the bit where you Laura will be telling you something about the investigation or what she's perceiving events may occur, etc. And then it'd sort of freeze, and then you didn't eject with like commentary over the top, something that was later going to happen to you in relation to what she was saying. And I thought that was quite an interesting little touch. It was like,
thank you.
Where it's almost giving us like a heads up of what's to come, what to look out for. You know, that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But no, as special effects go, obviously, the intro, and then all you've got throughout the rest of the show is literally, it's like we're there with you. You've got the camera footage, and then occasionally you'll just write something on, like REM pod, whatever, explaining what that is, for the viewer, that sort of thing. But other than that,
knows, do it? Not everyone knows.
Not everyone knows. No
items that you use.
So I think that's fair enough. I think that that's fantastic. So I can't see any problem with that. But you're not going to please everybody.
No.
People will just watch it and just to try and debunk it all. That kind of
you do get them. You do get them. Yeah.
But we've been on investigations where literally nothing happens all night. We've been on other investigations where as soon as you get there, things start happening. And in our own homes, for example, I can go months without seeing anything in my house.
I think I say poltergeist. I think I call him Derek, now. Yeah, Derek, because he's following me everywhere at the moment, and he follows me everywhere. Don't matter
people
where
can be haunted.
I can move house, I can move anywhere, but he's following me.
Yeah, well, people can be haunted more than places.
Well, it might just be me.
But I can go months without something occurring here. But it's just how it falls. It's the luck of the draw. But if you go to enough places, you're increasing your odds every time. That's, because you get skeptics that say, well, I went here and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Is that the only place you've been?
Yeah.
But if you went to 100 sites and nothing happened, then that's significant. But then you've got to remember, and I think you guys alluded to this a little bit earlier without saying it, but that old quote, if you stare into the abyss stares back. And sometimes that is, a really true saying when it comes to the paranormal. Sometimes when you start going out looking for these things, you can find more than you actually set out to look for.
Yeah.
Have you ever had anything follow you back home?
Yes. Especially with me. Yeah. With me, after the initial pilot episode, I went home. My security camera, I've never captured this before. There was a big black mass in front of one of my security cams at my house, and it was just there. And then the day after, two of my fish were dead. And I didn't tell Laura this, but in episode 2, which is called Charlie's House, I showed the picture to Laura, and Laura, you can take over from there. What you think it was?
I thought it was a negative entity that came from the farm.
It followed me.
Yes.
It freaking followed me home, and that pissed me off because I don't want nothing to harm me or my family. And here it is, this damn black mass. Just it looks like a huge cloud. And we actually called the police. I was away on vacation with my family, so I called the police. I said, "There's something from my security cam inside my house." So the cops came from the outside. They flashed everything, all the flashlights in, and we actually had footage of. We could see it through our security cam, the flashlights looking in, but the black mass wouldn't move. And when I came back home, it was gone. Of course, there was nothing there. But I tried to debunk it as being webs, like a floating web of a spider web. It wasn't that. We did everything with lighting. Nothing changed. It was just a big black mass, and it was weird. It was like see-through. You could see right through it, and there was nothing there. The lenses were clean in the security cam. No webs, no lighting fluctuation, nothing. It was just that happened. Because after episode 1...
I can remember several times coming back from one of our episodes, and Laura would have me bring her to the local church, and she would go in and she would get some of the holy water. Right,
I felt like
Dave?
those things were attaching.
Because, yeah.
I actually saw one of them holding onto your car. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's coming with us.
So at a later point in time, I suggested that you get a spray bottle and get some of the holy water and put it in a spray bottle.
It's weird, though, because I'm a little more desensitized now. I'm not as scared now when I see demonics. I mean, Sergio, you can even see, even with this last investigation, I'm not as scared as I was,
No, you're not.
I'm definitely more like, now I'm a little more nervy. Now I'm like, all right, go ahead, get out of here. Right?
Yeah, you don't give any credence to them. I mean,
kind of just going off what Sergio was saying, though, for episode 1, I remember after we did that, with me being a little more timid with the whole, demonic stuff, and I was scared. I remember I was in my kitchen, and I have a big, crystal chandelier above my kitchen table. And I was on the phone with one of my girlfriends, and I was literally holding the chair at my table. I was not touching the table. There was no one there. There was no windows open, nothing. And I was telling her the story about the farm and about the filming, and I was telling her everything I saw, and I was going on and on. As soon as I said the word, I was getting ready to say the devil. Yeah. And she goes, well, what was it? I go, it was the I said, duh. As soon as I said that word, a crystal fell off of my chandelier. I had a huge glass bowl in the middle of my table. It fell and it smashed. The glass shot up into my face. It went all over like an explosion. Right. As soon as I don't know if I ever told you that, Sergio. Yeah. I told you.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. I had it fell off of my chandelier, it hit the bowl, and it smashed into 1,000 pieces. And after that, I was really scared. I was like, oh my God.
Let's go back to the skeptics now. Episode 3, it's called 37 Ghosts. We went to the, what was it called? The mansion, the castle. What was it called?
The Farlock Castle.
Farlock Castle. And the owner, Stephen Feinstein? No. Stephen Feinstein. He's super skeptic. So we said, okay, I'll tell you what, Stephen, why don't you investigate with us for part of the night? And he did. And there was one point where Laura said that there was a child that was abused in the basement. And the exact spot that she spoke about earlier, we went to with Stephen. So we brought out the SLS camera, and all of a sudden, the little child appears. The first thing I felt was coldness all over me. And then it popped up and right by my leg, a little spirit of a little boy. And I went down and I started talking to it. And he followed all my instructions of what I was asking it to do. And that must have been a good, 20, 30 seconds of the little spirit boy talking to me. And then Stephen, he says, well, I can't explain what I just saw. That's right from the owner and the biggest skeptic there is. And that's episode 3. It's like everywhere we go, guys, as a group, things happen. And I've never seen any of these investigators, any of these shows have things happen like it has happened to us. So that's what I think is happening, is like you guys said in the beginning, we were like a beacon of light because of all of us having experienced something like this. It's being attracted to us. Yeah. And the more we do, the more open these things are to us as a group, that we're friendly. We're not sarcastic a-holes like some of these guys are, intimidating these things.
Well, that was was something I was going to bring up, actually. I mean, you don't go in there trying to antagonize it, just for the telly's sake, because we see this a lot now. Even on investigations that we've been on, we've got people going in there going, come forward, you son of a bitch, and all that, and we're like, what, what is this, haven't we? Yeah. We've got people literally just, it's like watching an episode of Most Haunted or Ghost Adventures. People running around us, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But just I noticed that you guys didn't do that, which I thought was interesting.
Just one thing as well. I know the one episode's out already, but just on this. Sorry, go on. Yeah. Sorry, Jersey. Go on.
For episode 1, we had somebody criticize me that I was very tense and scared. Of course, I was tense and scared. It's the first time I'm doing this, going out with the group. Of course, you're gonna get tense. I mean, let them go out to that basement and hear what I heard and see how tense they get. Jeez.
You get
of course.
You must be really scared, sir, because you had to hide behind one of our film producers
Let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. I got startled. No, but that's a human reaction. Of course, you're.
Yeah, well,
tense.
absolutely. Yeah.
You're doing the first time investigation. You're not gonna. If I wasn't tense, it'd be fake. Of course, I was scared.
I was always outside the dirt.
Yeah, it happens.
That was fun.
I mean, especially after experiencing what I've had all my life as a child, of course you're going to get tense and scared. And my parents died recently, and of course I was pretty much a mess during that first show. But as we go on, I've calmed down, and of course it's a human reaction. These skeptics they like to tear you apart, and they don't understand what you've been through.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a shame that people are like that. I mean, at least in the U.S., I'm not sure about the U.K., but from what not all of them, but you get some of these that try to tear you apart for being human. Come on, give me a break, you know?
Yeah, they expect you to go there and be a robot, you know?
Hey, Serge, I say that we hold a raffle and we have the skeptics all put their names in it. And then one by one, we take them on investigations and we leave them all alone in the dark basements.
That would be great.
I know that they won't do it.
I know, Lee, the UK is known for a lot of paranormal with the castles and its history. Yeah. I mean, we would love as a group to go out there and investigate with you guys. And that should bring it, like Carl Jr. just said, bring a skeptic along. And let them see for themselves what we witness. I mean, that would be ideal, but again, we would need somebody to sponsor that trip because we can't really afford something like that. But
this is something.
Hopefully down the road.
This is something I was just going to ask is to each of you as well is because I'm heading to New York next week, and one place that one place that I'm off to see is the Morris. Is it Morris Jamel? The mansion up there, the Morris House, as I think it's known up there. But okay. That's one place I'm visiting next week. Anyhow, one thing I wanted to ask you guys was, where's one place that you haven't been yet that's really on your list? Because I assume you've all got something different, but where's one place that you really want to investigate?
I want to go to the Winchester Museum in California.
Oh, we actually got approval to go there. We just got to get our finances to go out there and make a show for the Winchester Mansion in California. Yeah, we got permission to go there. But Lisa Norman, she's our promoter. She's actually got a lot of places that nobody's ever investigated up by her, including a psychiatric hospital.
Wow. So
maybe you can reach out. Yeah, reach out to her, Lisa Norman, and she can probably guide you with a lot of places that nobody's gone. And then you can check. It's in Maine. It's not too far from New York. Maybe like a 4 or 5 hour car drive, but it'd definitely be worth it.
You can Uber.
Just Uber, exactly.
Yeah, but who knows? We'd love to go out to the UK if we down the road. Our season 2 starts in October of 2020. We're actually filming the last 2 episodes for season 1 in March, and who knows?
Maybe
down the road,
New York, New Jersey area, they can come by us.
Yeah, they could always.
That sounds good to me. Yeah, but you're coming next week, huh?
I'm there. Yeah, I'm there next week. So I'm there for 10 days. But yeah, no, definitely.
Mostly eating cheesecake.
But yeah, to be fair, I'm probably just going to be in Junior's eating cheesecake all week. But
no, in Jersey we have a cheesecake factory.
Oh well, that's it. You've got me sorted. That's it.
Well, in New York, there's a lot of big places like the old girls' school that's shut down, supposedly haunted. I haven't seen anybody go there yet. You bring that up to Lisa; she'll probably know more about it. It's the old. It's in New York State, and it's the old school. It was like a college for girls, and that's one place that you should look into.
Wow! Yeah, I'll have a look into that one. Yeah.
And while you're out here, I mean, we're not far away from the city. We're only 20 miles away from New York City.
And in fact, I work in New York City.
Where we are. So, if you want to just, meet and greet, we can do that as well.
That'd be great to pop over and see you guys. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm not in New Jersey anymore. I'm out in the West Coast. But, you guys definitely feel free to Skype me if you guys go out in investigations. Just keep me posted. I'd love to tag along via Skype.
One thing that I've got a question from 2 people actually. I've mentioned it to a couple of people that were speaking to you, and they've had a look at the episode that's on Amazon over here at the moment, and they've both come back with the same question. Actually, it's, believe it or not, is what's out of the 4 of you there. what's your favourite horror movie? So I think I know it's not normally we get these.
No.
But what is your favourite horror? Well, I put it horror paranormal movie, should I say? I think I know why one of them's asked it, because we was watching Pet Sematary this week.
All right.
It's a long time since I've seen Pet Sematary.
The new one.
No, this is the old one.
Right.
I forget the name of the maker now. Anyhow, Stephen, was it Stephen?
Stephen King.
Was it Stephen King? I think it was Stephen King, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so I know why she's asked the question, but it's one question that I'll put to you each is, what's your favourite paranormal/horror movie?
Okay. Mine is The Exorcist, because that scared the crap out of me when I was younger. and also, and I also got to meet Linda Blair, and we became friends. And that was like, oh my God, I met somebody famous. And she's actually down to earth. And she said that all her life people have been bugging her and picking on her and calling her names because she was in that movie. People got to realize she's an actress. She's an actress in that movie, and she doesn't want to do any more horror. She actually wants to do more religious type films, nice films. So yeah,
but she got a stereotype, and that happens sometimes.
Yeah,
it's a shame, because she's such a nice person. You know, she's got a place where she takes care of all these dogs, like 50 dogs in her property. I don't know what you call it, but she feeds them and takes care of them. But The Exorcist to me is the scariest movie I've ever seen. And then meeting Linda was like icing on the cake. What a nice person she is.
I mean, me personally, I like the movies Insidious.
Yes.
For scary as hell, and also Paranormal Activity. It almost makes it feel like it's real, but it's not.
Yeah.
The first one was good.
There.
I'll agree with you on that one. The first one was good. The rest of them kind of lost me.
Yeah.
I like, I know this is maybe a lot different than you guys, but I like the movie The House on Haunted Hill. Do you guys ever see that?
Yeah.
That movie creeped me out.
Oh, that sounds good. Someone just opened the door in the background there. That sounded good.
I have my 10-year-old daughter doing special effects. She's
How about you, Carl?
Yeah, mine, like you, was pretty much The Exorcist. I mean, that really scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. So
yeah,
and that really did it for me. So that probably was the scariest.
Yeah.
Mine was The Evil Dead, I think.
The Evil Dead.
Yeah, Evil Dead would be mine.
Oh,
the first one?
Yeah, I love that film.
Yeah, that was pretty good, actually. Yeah.
That's so funny. You know,
say no. We're watching Pet Sematary the other night. That got bringing back. I forgot half of it, but bringing back it all. Yeah,
memories.
Memories of that. Yeah.
What about this? I mean, this be the
good.
The
older one. Good.
The last question then is for Laura, I think. I mean, have you ever been outside of America?
Well, I've been to islands. That's about it.
Okay, right. What was it like there? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people died in America. I figured that, but I mean, when you come to an ancient land like Ireland, what's the feeling you get there?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Islands. I've never been to Europe or anything like that. I've just been to like Jamaica and like Aruba and maybe Mexico. But anything with I've always I'm dying to go. I'm dying to come to England and France and Italy. I'm dying to travel. And
I mean, I always wonder with mediums such as yourself how far back your range goes. I mean, do you think it would be theoretically possible to see, like, if you went to some caves where Neanderthals once lived? I mean, what? Oh yeah. Would you see them?
Yes, I do. So I went to the Museum of Natural History recently in New York City, and it was so amazing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw this, I saw that. Just picking up on, just touching the just seeing the different artifacts and the bones, and it just. But even aside from that, I've been we go on like little day trips, and maybe we'll go up to different mansions, maybe where presidents stayed or just whomever it was.
Yeah.
But just kind of stepping in, I could see where was I? I was at somewhere with I have so many stories. It sounds like I'm stuttering, but it's like I have so many that I want to tell, but I can't. Oh, no. Well, no, that was another one. Okay. But we had gone to a museum, and I remember, I forgot what president it was. It was somebody. And I remember I was walking out, and that was a room full of artifacts. And I mean, there was like cannons and this and that. And I said to my friend, as we were walking out, I think it was it Jeffers? I don't remember who it was, but it was one of them. But he goes, "Hi, Laura." He had a stutter. And I looked up, and my friend thinks I'm nuts. I go, that, the president, whatever his name was, I go, he just stuttered. I go, did he have a stutter? He goes, I don't know. And I said, no, he has a stutter, I'm telling you. Well, a couple weeks later, we were talking to another group of friends, and my dad was there. And I had mentioned it to him, and then he just happened to Google it. And it came up, sure enough, he had a stutter. And I'm like, this is so cool. So, right? Yeah. So now I like going to these historical places where I can see all of that. So yes, I could go back as far as, I don't know, dinosaurs, I guess. I don't know. And I even do that. I don't know. But I even do that even in my readings. A lot of times I'll get past life. So I do like past life regression a little bit. I started touching on that the last 2 years, and I'll see, people, in their past lives where, this one woman, I told her, I said, you were in ancient Egypt and you were a princess. And I told her about this whole scandal that she was involved in. I said, you were alerting the Pharaoh that, the second, in line for the throne wanted to, have him killed and this and that. And then I see all that too. So,
well, you definitely.
Well, Laura, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lee.
No, go ahead.
Well, season 2, episode 1 is going to be called the Parasaurus. We're going to contact the ancient dinosaurs and people and try to see what's going on. What do you think, Laura?
That's good.
That's ridiculous. Okay, go ahead, Lee. I'm sorry.
That's good. We should.
Well, I think you definitely enjoy the UK with. I mean, the history. I was just talking to a guy the other day who's stationed at an RAF base in Lincolnshire, and on the night patrols there, they often run into Roman soldiers that attack them.
Wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we're going to go there, by the way. Me and you. Yeah.
Nice.
But
we would love to go there. Wow.
Yeah.
Can we go along? Yeah.
Where are the catacombs, guys? Where are they? Catacombs.
That's in France.
France, is it Switzerland?
France.
France. Yeah.
I want to do. That's somewhere that I
where all
go.
the bones are piled up.
Yeah.
I would just like to go to the castles. I would love to go to the castles.
Yeah, you can't beat a castle.
No, it's pretty good over here.
Yeah, it would be a 2-week trip and probably a whole season to film all the shows there. That's what we would love to do.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
But anyway, thank you very much, guys, for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I think.
Same here. Thank you, guys, Lee and Aaron.
Hey, pleasure.
We wish you the best going forward.
Sounds good. All right, guys, so hopefully we'll see you soon.
Okay, just give us a shout when you come out here.
Will do. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
All right,
All
cheers.
the best.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that conversation there with the Paraseekers. Remember to check them out on Amazon
Prime.
Yeah, and probably other places as well around the world.
Yeah, I think it's probably out in America.
Yeah, there's a few more episodes out in America according to them. We've only got one episode at the moment.
I had a look earlier at a few things, and it's they've got the first season, I think, near enough wrapped up. They've got a fair few episodes out.
But there's only one on Prime, isn't there?
On Prime, yeah. So
anyway, it's coming. It's probably just doing a weekly thing or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you enjoyed that conversation, go and check it out. It is a little bit different to the other ghost hunting shows you see on TV.
Yeah.
Similar in a lot of ways, and different in other ways. So I think you'll enjoy it. If you like the other ones, you'll probably enjoy this.
I think you'll enjoy this one better, personally. Yeah.
So that being said, right, so we're hoping to get a Patreon episode out soon.
Yeah, going to get one of them out, and maybe a couple of Fast Blasts in the meantime.
Yep.
Now, until then, we've had a new Patreon this week, haven't we? As well, we've had a new Patreon, and we've had a couple of people buying the shirts as well.
Yep.
So them shirts will be sent out ASAP. If they haven't gone already, they're gone and done and dusted. Also, the Patreon packets, they're getting ready to send out by the end of this week as well. We've contacted a few of you on the new ones on them.
For addresses, yeah.
For addresses. If you haven't seen it already, just check your Patreon account and have a look at your messages. All being said,
Yeah, well, that as well. I mean, obviously, if you want to check out the T-shirts, you can go to the website, realmofsupernaturalpodcast.com, and you can check out underneath the shop. You'll see some people wearing the T-shirts there. Or if you go to the Hangout, you'll see Paul wearing his.
yes,
Very smart as well.
Very smart indeed.
Yep.
With a coffee in his hand, I think.
Yeah, I think it knocks 10 years off him.
Oh, yeah, easily, yeah.
So thank you very much, Paul, for that.
Cheers, Paul.
And Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
Indeed, yeah. Happy New Year to you all. And we will be back. It might take a bit of a hiatus because you're on holiday.
I'm away, yeah.
So probably next show.
I'm afraid you're going to have to put up with him, guys.
Yeah, probably end of January we'll get another one out, eh?
Yeah,
Something
we'll get
like
another one out, definitely.
So, yeah, bear with us. But thank you very much for your support for this year. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Enjoyed it all the way.
Yep. So, that being said, we will see you on the other side.
Bye for now.
Well, they've gone. No, just for now. It wasn't the right time for us to meet. But there'll be other nights, other stars for us to watch. They'll be back.